Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to today's video, which primarily is a follow-up to Chapter 71's review, where originally I was going to discuss all the 3 next possible villains I think Boruto could face and who realistically that was going to be. But as I was making this script, I realized how biased I was for Amado because he basically would have taken up about 70% of the video alone. So instead, I think we're just gonna focus on the most likely outcome, and that's Amado Senzu. So last week I presented a crazy theory on how I think Amado has been lying about being loyal to Konoha and how he now potentially has Boruto, Kawaki, Eida, Daemon, and Delta in control, which basically puts Naruto at his mercy. I know, wild, especially if you haven't seen it, but I promise it makes some sense. And honestly, before we continue, funny enough, I don't even know if Amado would truly count as a villain to the Leaf. I think whatever things happen to get in the way with his plans, he'll do what he must to eliminate it, but isn't crazy enough to want world domination, if that makes sense. If he has to kill Sasuke or Shikamaru because they prove to be too much of a nuisance, then he will, but if they pose no threat, then there's no point. It's not in the sense with Ishiki or Code to where they don't bother to go after those that don't stand in the way, because in the end, they would die from the divine tree regardless. With Amado, I feel like if you have absolutely nothing to do with his plans, then you're good. Probably won't die later on because he isn't looking to do mass murder, I'm pretty sure. Now, regardless of him wanting blood or not, I think that, if he wants to call it repercussions, okay, repercussions. The matter of the fact is that currently he may have the power to order god level beings to kill whenever he wants to whoever he wants. He right here, if I'm right, could potentially pose the biggest threat to the entire world if that's what he's after, which I don't think he is. When we think of the strongest characters in Boruto, we got Ishiki, Baryon Mode, Code, Daemon, Eida, Boruto, Kawaki, Kashinkoji, etc. He now can possibly control 6 people from that list, and it's all been building up. My final theory, because next chapter Amado will finally reveal his plan, but my final theory is that Amado is not only all about control and manipulation, but will put Naruto in a very tough decision that will come to have somebody killed. Let's dive into this theory by starting with his time in the Kara organization, which in Boruto episode 185, Amado had literally performed a few acts of control and manipulation right in front of our faces. Code threatens to torture every Kara member until they spill about the traitor, and now that I think about it, this follows through with Code knowing how to properly torture Amado in the right place in this Code arc, which I never caught on until I watched its interaction again. But back on track, Code thinks about going on a torture spree, but is stopped by Amado, who tells him that Jigen wouldn't be happy about his rash decisions. Now Amado uses Jigen throughout his time in Kara to control Code's actions, and honestly, regardless of it being what Jigen actually wanted or not, this was the easiest way for Amado to control Code, which he did twice to my memory. If you remember in the anime, Amado wanted Code to retrieve Boro and use Code's loyalty to Jigen as the motivation to get him, and now uses Jigen's name to calm Code down regardless of it actually being true or not. Now, not only does he do this to Code, but he pulls the same stunt to Kawaki as well with Naruto. In this whole entire Code arc, Amado has been controlling Kawaki, basically steering the wheel for him this whole time. He manipulates him into thinking that Naruto would die due to the loss of Kurama, and we see this bother Kawaki to great lengths after the scrimmage with Boruto. He knows he doesn't have the power to kill Code, so he tries to sacrifice himself in order to get some results, yet instead, Kawaki basically gets forced into unlocking his karma in order to save Naruto, which is exactly what Amado wanted. I said this before, but Amado, since creating Kawaki's arm, or maybe even earlier, had always planned for Code to push Kawaki into a corner that would force Ishiki's karma to return. This was confirmed by Eida, and it's funny enough, if you notice, this entire arc, almost everyone is suspicious of Amado. Hell, even Boroshiki wonders what that man is plotting. While everyone is trying to prove themselves and, follow through with their ambitions, Amado in the shadows has been one step ahead of every single person. Literally almost everybody has called him out once, wondering what that man is planning out ahead, even Sumire. Amado could be leading up to be that guy that let all these characters have their fun until it was his turn to show out. Now back to the topic of control, because we aren't done here. This isn't maybe something you would notice right away, but if you go back and read both the Kawaki and Code arc, there is something about Amado that has always came to be, and that's how he, since his very first appearance, has always had levels of control or was one step ahead of every single person he was around. The only person he didn't have control over or won't moving forward is Sumire, who Amado even tells her was an idiot because had she been the cute, innocent little girl she's presented as, but played as a spy and asked the right questions, she above all could have been the one to come the closest to piecing Amado's plan together. Now, if you're wondering what I meant by levels of control or being one step ahead, if we look at Kara, what's something each of the members there besides Jigen had in common? They were all modified or created by Amado. And what did we come to find out out later, he ended up having control over Delta and possibly Kashin Koji and more members. Him being a genius scientist to where nobody else compares puts him at that advantage to even when he was plotting against the organization. They wouldn't know because he could possibly hide his plot through research or simply lie about something to where they wouldn't understand it enough if he was telling the truth. The one person he couldn't have control over was Jigen. However, this is where Amado was one step ahead. His plan to use Naruto, Sasuke, and Kashin Koji in order to bring Ishiki out worked well. Jigen was too focused on Kawaki to notice what Amado was doing, even tricking Jigen and everyone into thinking that Victor was the traitor, which inevitably got him killed. Now looking onto Konoha in this code arc, I think Amado was doing the same thing, and now I'm starting to see it more clearly. Let's start with how the anime and manga have been desperately trying to get us to believe that Amado is for Konoha. I suspected in my chapter review that this is just to raise suspicions and suspense in order to throw us off. The manga has done a great job in doing just that, because something I've noticed in Boruto episode 185 is that after Amado calms Code down, Delta starts to question Amado too, to which Amado responds by saying with that calm but confident expression, if he were to be the traitor in the organization, he would have no reason to stop Delta and Code from fighting and would instead rather have them kill themselves. 2. Funny enough, Delta calls out as a ruse to get them to trust him, which is exactly what he was trying to do. That is exactly what I think the writers have been so desperately doing, trying so hard to throw us off by giving us subtle hints of Amado having an ulterior motive, but at the same time being someone that is truly loyal to the Leaf. To this, it is hard for us to guess what he is doing, especially early on. I believe that just like the Delta interaction, Amado has been helping the Leaf and doing all these things for Konoha, like creating Delta, giving Boruto the pills, or giving Kawaki a new arm, when in hindsight, he did those things for his own benefit. I think what Amado did to Kawaki is what he did to Delta and even Boruto. It seemed like he just gave Kawaki a new arm, but it actually ended up being an arm that possessed a karma seal and now sets up Kawaki into a position to where he could be controlled. In that same sense, I think Amado created Delta too so that he could use her later on if needed be, and giving Boruto the pills for the same reason. Just like Kawaki, it seemed like Delta was a droid whose purpose is to protect the Leaf, and technically she does just that, but I think in reality it's a cover up to where he does have control over her, and this is all so that he doesn't draw attention on himself and keep Konoha focused on Code. I think Delta is actually a droid that yes is functioned for the purpose of serving Konoha, but if at any time Amado needs to, he's got the code to turn her against him. And with Boruto, that applies to the pills. They did work for the purpose of stopping or slowing down Momoshiki's resurrection, but it's not a stretch to say it also now gives Amado control over Boruto at any time he pleases, which is maybe why even Momoshiki states that he could not see why that thing, that terrible thing that comes to pass, happens. It is possibly because Boruto is being controlled by something or someone to where he is forced to kill somebody that he loves. I'm hoping you guys are starting to see where I'm going, naming all these parallels with Kara and Konoha, and how he's slowly putting himself in that same position he was in with Kara, to where he has control over most of the members and now maybe has control over the strongest members of Konoha. Amado put himself in a position to where he was once tied up in a room full of Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Sai, to one by one doing these things that, you know, seem so beneficial to the Leaf, but in reality, these actions allowed him to slowly regain that same advantage of power and control he had over Kara onto now Konoha. And it's all because of how much more smarter Amado is compared to everybody, even Shikamaru. Now with that out of the way, let's discuss how I think this arc will end. I think Amado will pull up to the Leaf and basically force Naruto into a very tough position. So what I think is going to happen is that Amado is going to reveal something that connects Kawaki's karma seal to his daughter and how it's the key to bringing her back in some way. Remember, there is still more to karma we don't understand. Not too long ago, Momoshiki presented us the idea that karma can be used as a way to rebuild all the cells and tissues that would be needed in order to bring one back. My wild guess, because there could be so much more to this that I just don't know yet, so it definitely is a stretch, but I think that somehow Kawaki's karma is going to be used in order to revive his daughter through that same logic Momoshiki said, but with more hidden lore to it that we don't know. I think what happened with Boruto is just a hint to what the karma can really do, and that is going to be the key to bringing back his daughter. My guess on why Amado specifically chose Kawaki is because he believes that Kawaki is a nuisance to the Leaf and holds no real value compared to Boruto, who is Naruto's son, which would be much harder to do because it would create problems for him that he doesn't want. In Boruto Chapter 70, there is literally a whole argument of Amado saying that Kawaki has been trouble from the jump and would be in Konoha's best interest if Kawaki and Code just kill each other. I think that Amado doesn't see any value in Kawaki at all and thinks it would be best for everyone if he was a sacrifice used for the seal compared to Boruto. Now the flaw with this is, why didn't Amado use Code? And to that, maybe Amado can't use a defect karma seal? So now with this information, I think Amado is going to give Naruto a very hard choice. Rather give up Kawaki and let Amado do what he needs to, or have Amado use not only Kawaki, but Boruto, Eida, Daemon, and Delta to destroy the leaf. Why this is hard for Naruto, you may ask, is because I think Naruto's ideal of having everyone feel like family to him will be tested. I think the build up to this father and son relationship with Kawaki and Naruto is finally going to be put to the test, and we have had a small foreshadow of this in chapter 67. When Shikamaru asked Naruto if he really sees Kawaki as family, as his son, to which he called him that many chapters ago. If he truly sees Kawaki as family, you know, as his own child, would he keep that same energy he had with Boruto, to where he told him even if the world turns against him, he would still fight for him? Will he choose to give up Kawaki so his village and status as Hokage remains, or will he choose to fight for Kawaki like he would for Boruto? At that point, it's a lot harder to guess what happens because it could go any way. I think that Naruto maybe is gonna give up Kawaki at first, but only trick Amado into betraying him, which will cause Amado to let these godly level beings loose, which in return maybe forces Boruto to kill Sasuke. I honestly just don't see Naruto giving up Kawaki because it isn't in his character to do it. However, this is also a Naruto who has to go about things in a whole different perspective. For once, he's in an overwhelming position and can't power through things with Kurama's chakra, so he's got to think logically and not with his fist, which honestly most may hate, but I kinda like these new dilemmas that Naruto is going through. You can honestly know what to expect when it comes to characters like Naruto in different anime because of how non-original and straightforward their stories are, but nerfing Naruto yet keeping him relevant as Hokage, to where even if he's not close to being the strongest person in his village, he still holds power over what people do. So no matter what, he stays relevant as long as there is a village and as long as he's tied to Kawaki. To which I can't say the same to Sasuke. They are doing that man so wrong. But yes, everyone, that is my Amado theory. Amado is going to present the idea of sacrificing Kawaki to the village in order to get their hands off of him, knowing how Kawaki is a legitimate problem to not only them, but the entire world, which is going to test Naruto's ideals. He will give up Kawaki only to try to take down Amado, which will cause him to let these beings go loose, which will cause Boruto to kill his master, which is also why Momoshiki wasn't able to understand Boruto's actions, only seeing things from Boruto's perspective, and how it to Momo, it just seemed like Boruto went on a rampage. And honestly, if there are anything any of you want to add to this theory before Boruto chapter 72 comes out, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, because compared to all my other theories, I think there are things that I definitely got right here when that chapter comes to be. I've been able to apply past concepts and information that connects into why I think Amado comes to do what he does. So if I'm wrong, then it's got to be because of new information that was totally unpredictable. But yes, if you enjoyed today's video, everyone, I'd very much appreciate a like and sub. I believe next week we are doing a daemon scaling video, so unless that changes, be on the lookout for that when it drops. If you watch until the end, I also do appreciate it as it helps push out my videos more. Thank you again, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.